We'll start with a brief interview with Tony, in which he'll tell us some things about SK13 and the process leading up to it. Tony wants people to be able to ask questions. He wants everybody to be able to ask a question. He will answer it the way he deems fit. I've been hearing about SK13 for years, before even Filmworker. All I know is it's about Eyes Wide Shut, I think, in some way. Eyes Wide Shut, I was there. It got a terrible reception on its release. And even to this day, only some Kubrick fans seem to like it. What made you choose this your subject and to spend 10 years of your life on it?
Okay, I'll make this really quick and brief. Eyes Wide Shut, obviously, I'm sure like most people here, I saw it the first day it came out at the Chinese Man in Los Angeles. And Full House. And when I saw the movie, I have to kind of reiterate something that I was working at the time was the first part of my big break, which was about actors. I was embedded in that kind of world. And so I was more too close to the industry, watching all big agents, big actors disappear, fall apart, do drugs, file bankruptcy, whatever, etc. Right? And so I went to see the film, and it clicked with me. I just saw something. It just spoke to me. I saw something that I felt like this is going to blow everybody's mind tomorrow when the reviews come out. I thought this is like just beyond, And I know some people do share my views about the movie, but I also know that the majority don't. So I think the next day the reviews were horrible, really bad. And the movie that I thought was going to change the industry was like not only got bad reviews, I think it just got decimated. And so I kept what I saw to myself, cooking in my head. I also remember when I saw the movie, I saw one shot in the film that made me realize I was on the right track. It's just a hunch. Like you watch something and it speaks to you, but then you see something and you kind of go, oh, okay, I see what Kubrick is up to. 2 weeks later, I went back to watch the movie again, and the shot was gone.
Really?
So this is when I realized that I'm losing my mind. So then I thought maybe I imagined something, right? And so I was just puzzled by that because I know I saw the shot. So I started to think that, like, did somebody play with the film? It's like, what else is missing? That's what I thought. I thought, it just doesn't make any sense. So then time passed, and I remember, I believe, with my co-producer Elizabeth, she's here, and she can even, you could even jump in and when you saw the movie, how you felt and what I said to you about it. I think you should.
Yes. So this was a long process, but this was so early on, and when Tony talked to me back then about the way he saw Eyes Wide Shut. I had been one of those, I love Kubrick. I've always, been a huge Kubrickian, but that movie I was confused about, I have to admit it. And I felt like, he's brilliant, but I don't really understand what he was going for. And then Tony told me how he saw the film. And from then on, I thought, oh my God, this completely changed the way I viewed that movie from then on, and became kind of, how do I put it? A convert to the way he viewed it, and it made everything make sense. And we had a number of experiences where we would run into people or lecturers or things like that who would say, Kubrick is brilliant, except for Eyes Wide Shut. And then we would just feel like, okay, there has to be somebody who speaks out or makes a documentary about this film, which is a very strange thing to do, but but we were strange. So yeah, I'm amazed that I'm excited that it has reached this stage and is in fruition now, because it's really fascinating.
To continue, what happened after that is, so of course time passed and never saw the shot, never saw the changes. For a while, yes, as I said, I thought I was crazy. And then we decided at one point, a few years after that, to jump in and do the documentary. We started filming, started interviewing people with the concept in mind. Then, of course, not surprised, I discovered that nobody around Kubrick knew what he was going for, in a sense, but I couldn't really sound like a lunatic and say, and just so we're all clear, that I'm not talking about Illuminatis or anything, okay? So nobody thinks I'm out there with this. And so and then we managed towards the end. No one wanted to talk, by the way, in the beginning. This was, I'm not sure what year we started, Elizabeth.
About 2012, 2014.
Yeah, yes. A lot of people didn't want to talk before that. And then slowly people started to speak. They felt they could. And I think back then it was a bit of like, oh, you don't talk about Kubrick, or like anybody in the industry just didn't want to talk about Stanley in public, you know. And when they hated the movie, they couldn't publicly say they hated the movie, especially industry people, because you're going to sound like an idiot in a sense if you say that about, because you could be missing something. But other people, of course, were vocal about it. And then we arranged to find Leon Vitali. And then Leon didn't want to talk, but then I think Lisa Leone told him that she already met me and that I'm real. I'm not, you know, I really have a very specific way of looking at this. Leon said yes. And then I went to see Leon. And the dialogue started from there with Leon. I realized he knew a lot, and also there's some things he wasn't aware or didn't want to talk about. So it was a process of building the trust, but also, of course, as you all know, is that when I saw Leon, I was like, "This is how could I walk away from that story?" And so the whole thing, when I went back to Boston, I said, my God, it's like Leon's story, you know, this guy, he's like going to do a doc on him. But of course, you know, as an independent, you don't want to pick up another documentary when you can't even finish your first documentary. So, but it was decided, we pushed, we did it, and we put SK aside. But then I think when Leon came in, the door opened. A lot of people were really suddenly interested in talking. And as everyone knows, even like Danny Lloyd doesn't like talking to anyone, but I approached him before he said no. As soon as he knew it was Leon, he was in. And it spiraled from there. And so we did Filmworker. And then as I was doing Filmworker, of course, I was always shooting doubles. So I would film people for Filmworker, and then I would also do another shoot with them for SK13. So the footage just kept growing, and the information just kept growing. And I think probably towards the end, after Filmworker came out, that part of the conversations was, I had a conversation with Leon, and I told him about the missing shots, or the missing shot. And he said, yes, you're right. So I said, how the hell is that supposed to happen? And he said, well, there were some things that they had to run to the theater after the film opened, and they realized that they forgot stuff, and they removed some of those things. And so this is when I went like ballistic. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought we're watching a Kubrick movie. It's untouched. It's the way it was. And it just, I don't want to say anymore. It accelerated from there. And when I met my co-editor, we discussed, and I told him what I was going for, what I was going to do. What is this movie about? And I think we edited for years, and only at the end he said, oh, now I see what you're talking about, because it was just too much. And so if you just, I think Casper is right there. He's right there. You could, he could give you a little bit of, but it can give you a sense of how massive it is.
I think that we met beginning, or I think actually end of 2019, when you introduced me to this project, and we started editing this movie beginning of 2020. And I can remember very clearly that how can you start editing something like this, which is so massive, and explain to the viewer what the movie is about if you don't even know yourself what the movie is about? So I think that Tony, he explained probably for 2 or 3 months what he was trying to achieve with this movie before we could even start with editing the movie, because of course, if you don't know how to. So I think that along the way, of course, after editing for a year and the second year and even the third year, I gradually understood more about the movie. And it's funny that you said, Tony, what you said just now, Tony, that when we finished and we just watched the whole thing one more time, it was like all the pieces connected. So yeah, it was massive.
Well, and it's not even, and let me be clear, it's not like me and my theory. It's really Kubrick, because, and Casper saw this, it's like the layering, the massive layers in this film. But I'm not saying also that, again, we leave this open, we answer it in the film. Was he done? We answer it. Is what you saw was purely Kubrick? We answer that. What was he going for? We discussed that. But again, and that really required to go all the way to the beginning, all the way to Vienna 1900, jumping all the way to now, and what happened on that set, and what he was really dealing with. And so I think it's so Kubrick, because it's like, as he was making the movie, things were growing, and he was adjusting to how to keep his master plan going. I guess, in short, I'm really trying to say, as I can't really tell you what it's about, because you really have to, I think, like Casper said, if you miss the first 10 minutes or 5 minutes, you're not going to get it, because how he does things, it's really crazy.
And I think you have to watch it minimum 3 times, 4 times.
Well, it's what Steven Spielberg said. It's like he said towards the end, he wanted to change the form. Mm-hmm. He wanted to change the form of how you tell stories. And I think the chess player, whatever you think about the film, watch the doc and you'll see, because the man's mind is insane. It's crazy on the levels that he just calculates things, And I have to tell you, even look how long it's been, 2 decades now, I still find things in the film that I didn't know. And Casper is nodding. I mean, literally till the last day when I was color correcting, I would go, "You won't believe what I just saw." That's what we're talking about, but that's why we're so excited. But a lot of people didn't see that. And I understand why they didn't. Okay, because again, the presentation wasn't right. Possibly what Kubrick wanted you to see wasn't there. Possibly other factors played a role. That's the big surprise. I think the exciting surprise that I'm excited about. Yeah.
Well, first, there's a couple of people in the chat want to know what the missing shot is. Can you tell us that or not?
You'll see it. I have it. You'll see it.
Okay.
Again, well, I'll tell you why. And not because I don't want to say it, I'm trying to be mysterious here, but I have to tell you why. You have to know what he's going for in order for it to, because I can tell you the shot and you'll be like, huh? But you have to really apply the method, his approach, what he's going for, what he was telling everyone around him, and then you'll go, oh. It is really like a chess game. But again, you can't just watch the movie and go, oh, I see what you really have to also look. listen to what Tony Fruin said, and what Leon Vitali said, and what Jan Harlan said, and what Christiana Kubrick said, and what Tom said, and what Nicole. It's like massive, and you have to do your homework and go back. And then you start to see it. But viewing it as is, I just no.
Why did you decide to do a Zoom with us now as kind of your next step? What's the what can we get done in the Zoom?
Well, okay, so I thought about it with the people I work with, and we discussed this, and I realized that if we're not going to the festival, and if we're going to start to do this, I'm going to block you everywhere you go. I felt like doing a Zoom, go straight to the audience, letting everybody know what's going on. To be direct about that, I think it's much more, it's like creating our own, it's the soldiers, you know? It's like, here's the movie's done. It's much better to be open, vocal about what happened, and to explain to everyone what happened, and to also get the word out. Because they're really the movie, not just, I think it's a very important film. It's not because I worked on the film, but I think the message in the film is very crucial. And I feel that like going straight to the audience and letting everyone knows what is happening is, I think it makes us more, instead of like there's 6 or 7 of us, now there's like 100 of us. And the movie was made that way too. I have a lot of material that were contributed by the audience. And some of the archivists were cataloging things for like the last, literally for 2 decades, recording everything, you know, and some of them are here. And so it's massive. And so I felt like, you know what, this is everybody's movie. So here it is.
And I have one more question I want to make sure it gets asked, and then we'll go to the regular Q&A, and I want others to follow Nick's example of raising your hand. Yeah, I think you can just visually raise your hand, and Zoom might pick it up. Tony?
Yes.
So my one question is...
Oh, I'm sorry, I was waving to someone and saying.
Okay.
Atlantis.
Did Leon see a cut of SK13 at any stage, and what did he think of it?
Yeah, sadly, he didn't. The last time I saw Leon was, I think, before he passed, about a month before he passed, right? A little bit, about? Yeah, about a month. He saw the opening. I showed him the opening on my laptop, plugged it into his phone, and he just he was a bit enraged in a good way. But I think I think it triggered a lot of things that he was hearing, and it was maybe a bit much for him. Yeah, that's all I can say. We did. I have to be honest. We did have in the middle. Because again, you know, we read books about Stanley, we watch interviews about other people, we just keep repeating. And there's a lot of times really people are not doing their homework in a sense of like really like checking things out. And then I have to say in a sense that I didn't know the extent of how things were happening and how much. Everyone knows that he just worked really a lot. We know that he worked really extremely hard. But you know, Leon and I had a bit of a clash towards the middle, because when I started to see things, I started to have this conversation with him, and I think he felt like I was more. Accusing him of not telling me what happened. And in the beginning I was, you know, but then I discovered he also didn't know. Because again, this is like a maze, huh? And so there was a bit of that. And I really realized some things he didn't know, because again, remember, he was Stanley's front. the whole Kubrick group was up front, and they were, no one was going to tell them anything, because they were Kubrick, huh? So it was really more of an ongoing discovery journey, in a sense, if you would say. Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch real quick on your opening. You had mentioned the Cannes Film Festival, and that's something that's foreign to many of us, of course, who are either just getting into the business or never been there at all. I'm trying to deduce if there was too much controversy in your film, or if it was I know you had mentioned about Tom that he was the judge. I mean, he was the guest of honor there, correct? Basically, he was
not judge. Yeah. He was just right. He was premiering there. Yes. Right.
So, what is the mindset of the committee in hindsight that you think might have prevented? I mean, because this seems like it's going to be a great work, and a lot of people are going to want to know why do you think they did it? I mean,
I really think the reason was silly. It was shallow. It wasn't really about filmmaking. It wasn't about big secrets. I think it was really purely about there is a big celebrity coming, and I just don't want them to feel uncomfortable. But you're going to ask, like, well, uncomfortable, why? And I think possibly, I'm assuming, because that same year they also got a lot of they were hammered, in a sense, in the press about cutting Nicole from the presentation, Tom's presentation. So possibly is that this movie is such a big reminder that they were married, like that this was an thank you. I don't need to finish. You get it. Nothing.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on one thing. And with the amazing Kubrickian group that there is, we know that almost everybody has dug so deeply into Kubrick's world, his films, and all of that. And I just wanted to say that, first of all, there's the conspiracy theory concept. This is not a conspiracy theory type of thing at all. It really is a very different thing than that. But beyond that, I just wanted to express that, having worked with Tony for so long, that one thing like talking about a shot, contextualizing it within the film is extremely important for him. So it's the before and after of presenting why that particular shot mattered, why any of these things matter. It's really building almost like not a case, but it's building an entire orchestral way of laying something out. So it isn't, it can seem like it's being kind of coy and holding back, but it really isn't that. It's trying to contextualize something instead of just putting it out there and then giving it too much emphasis when it really needs to be in context. I think Casper would probably agree with me on that, having been the one who's seen the whole thing built and building it. That's all.
The Kubrick world remains a fascination to millions around the world.
Yeah.
Are you aware of how explosive what you're suggesting may be? We're being teased tonight with potentially explosive news, but we don't know what it is yet. But this could be massive. Are you aware of potential impact?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm trying to get some up because it's getting dark. Okay. Let me just say this. It is massive. And why is it massive? Because we love Kubrick. And that's I think that's why we're all here. And it's also Kubrick is cinema. And it's like, if this goes, like if you don't share this with people, and if you don't do something, I think that's why it's such a crucial film, because he is cinema. And it's like, if you miss that, then you just might as well just, the whole thing is just not worth it. It's just, yeah. So, and you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm not very good at explaining things with words here, but Yeah, it is important, and it is because again, you take the greatest filmmaker of all time, and you say that the man lost his mind at the end, or that he wasn't done, or that he was killed, or that he, Tom and Nicole, as the rumors would like came out, that he blamed Tom and Nicole for ruining the film. And what else were the other things? That the studio altered the cut after he died. All those things, these are very important things. Those things ruined Stanley's body of work or reputation. That last film, when you're this genius that made this incredible body of work, and then at the end you say, "This is my greatest film," which he said, and then everybody says that you were nuts and I don't get it. Something needs to be addressed in that, right? So, and that's why it took bloody 20 years of preparation. Really, because I could, you couldn't wrap your. It's like, look, I think we were discussing this the other day. We shot at Cannes, of course, France. We shot in Germany. We shot in the US. We shot in England. Yeah. Because to chase all those people and find the pieces. And most of the people that I filmed with, I think I shot with them like sometimes 3-4 times till they talked. Because no one wants to talk. No one wants to talk.
The other day in the chat, when Filippo's newest video, I believe, dropped about looking into the camera, the book Subliminal Seduction came up, and I was the one that brought it up, and I, of course, with tongue in cheek, because Filippo knows far more than many of us in this room, I said it's a fact that he read that book and that was an influence. But now I'm asking you, if you could confirm this for all us fans, was that book an influence on him? I mean, I know the Nescafe commercials definitely played some sort of factor in how he approached, modifying the form and so on and so forth. But can you opine on that, if you will?
I think the easiest answer is that with Kubrick, it's never one thing. It's never ever one thing. It's never one book. It's like he was so. What you discover is like people will tell you, or like whether it was Leon or anybody, that people that worked with Stanley would tell you stories about how it's their story. But when you start to talk to everybody, you realize, whoa, it's like it's the chessboard. You know one thing, he reads this, puts this here. It's really massive. That's just how his brain worked. And that's why people say it's like it is a chess player. Calculating almost.
Do you have a release date for your film first?
No.
Not yet. Okay.
No, and let me answer that quickly, but like why? We're running into a difficult issue now, which is, of course, that's part of the anger about Cannes' decision, is that it delayed us massively. We have a couple of options at this point, which is there are few distributors that we can go with. We haven't made that decision yet. The issue is that if you go with a distributor, they may take another 8 months to a year. So it depends on which distributor is ready to go, because we're done. 2, that's really an issue. So if let's say if we go to Sundance, that's like in January of next year, and that means waiting till January, and then the distributor starts to do their thing, and he goes another 6 months, and that's a dilemma that we're in right now, and we're trying to figure out how we can do that. And I don't have an answer for you. I don't know.
So what I'm taking away or hearing is that Tom Cruise didn't want SK13 at Cannes because it was a documentary on the esoterica and mysterious depth and controversial production of Eyes Wide Shut. Would it have imposed on or damaged Cruise's action man image and his public relations and step all over Top Gun? And then I have a follow-up question, but if you wouldn't mind answering that, that would be great.
No one can answer that, but I'm going to try. Tom knows about the doc. Tom actually approved a couple of shoots that I did. He approved the questions. So I think that, that's all I can say about that part. I'm not in Tom's head. I don't know. It's a lot of times people I can tell you this much. People sometimes make decisions for Tom that Tom doesn't even know about. For example, the festival, because of, it's this analogy. Okay. When you're in LA and you have a big party and there's a big celebrity coming, right? And the celebrity is vegetarian. Suddenly everybody's vegetarian at the party. And so I don't know what to say to you. It's like it just suddenly becomes the theme of the party is vegetarian. I mean, so it's like people tiptoe around Tom. I don't think Tom would have a problem with the documentary, but I think people around him think maybe it is a problem, or Ken thought it was a problem. I think it's stupid because it doesn't look really good for Tom, but I think he's the one that could really stop this and end that kind of behavior. But I'm not sure it's even Tom.
In SK13, are there any shots of any Kubrick movies, Eyes Wide Shut or otherwise? Did you take scenes from?
Yeah. All his films are there. And
was it?
And yeah, I think there's something I didn't really explain in the beginning. The movie is focused on Eyes Wide Shut, but it's a documentary about Kubrick himself, all his movies, because once you get in his head about how he made all his films, aside from Fear and Desire, you see it really is connected to Eyes Wide Shut. But it's about all his films, with an emphasis on Eyes Wide Shut.
Was it difficult to get clearance for the rights to that?
Oh, yeah. Okay,
I'll take that for a yes.
No, I won't, because look, I mean, most of the people at Warner now, they either passed that were around Stanley at the time, or they're all, including Terry Semel, who was like the head. I did have an exchange with him like through messages and things, but sadly we were ready to film. He became extremely ill, and then that ended right there. So there are a lot of people that love Kubrick at Warner and just love Kubrick, period. And they were also behind this because they love him and they love his films. And so I think that's where the helping hand came.
I saw you at the London Film Festival premiering Filmworker, and a friend of mine who I was with posed a question. The question that he actually asked you was the estate involved in Filmworker? And I just wondered whether you got estate, support from the estate in doing SK13.
I think I knew where I was heading when this project started with SK13.
Right.
I felt I should stay away from that to not make it to not make it difficult for them, and to also be free to say whatever I wanted. I just didn't want to put them on the spot. I think it's understood in a sense of like, they know I respect Kubrick. I watched Filmworker with Christiana and Jan in the house before it came out. I showed it to them, and I just felt like I needed to go solo with this on the side and not put them in the middle, because it just gets complicated.
I understand.
But they care about Kubrick, and obviously I'm working for him, so. We're all just like the fans, I'm also like super. We even cover the fans in the documentary, by the way, because again, Kubrick is like the Kubrick fans are like, they're insane. Sorry, guys. But whatever, they're so protective of him. that like you just gotta love that, and so we honor that in the doc also.
Okay, thank you, thank you for that. As a supplementary, I'm really getting quite fascinated about the subject of SK13. Obviously, I know the film.
I'm glad that's the point here.
Yeah, and I'm thrilled about it because I can see some analogies. Those who do this normal Saturday call quite regularly know that I've been very, very keen on The Shining, and I've done my own research and work on The Shining. And one of the things that Kubrick actually said about The Shining, and it sort of reflects a little bit Elizabeth's comment about not being a conspiracy film. And The Shining isn't a conspiracy film, but Kubrick actually admitted in a French interview that the film was constructed as a puzzle. Is this what you're finding in Eyes Wide Shut, that there is a puzzle there?
Yeah.
Because
not a conspiracy puzzle, huh? Not a genius puzzle, not a conspiracy.
Exactly. Oh, wow. That is such a perfect way of putting it.
Yeah. No.
I hopefully, Mark, I know, has read what I wrote a book, which I put out there for a while, and a few people kindly read it. But the Shining is a genius puzzle. It's a resolvable puzzle.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to hear about Eyes Wide Shut as well. So the parallels are there. This is actually a puzzle rather than a conspiracy.
Yes.
Well,
I think you said it very well. Yeah.
Thank you. That's perfect. Well, exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Obviously, as you mentioned before, Eyes Wide Shut, the initial release might not have gotten this, grand reception, but I think over time people have learned to really appreciate it. And as you're looking to see when your documentary will be released, there's been a lot of rumblings. It's very unfortunate that Leon Vitale is no longer with us, but he obviously was very involved in these 4K restorations. Do you think that the 4K restoration of Eyes Wide Shut could see a release close to your documentary? And if it was going to release, what version would you like to see in that 4K release?
That's a beautiful question. Brilliant. I'll tell you why. Because my concern that the new Warner people or the estate or something, it's sad that this film hasn't been restored and presented the way all the other films. But obviously, it's because I think in our group here, and a lot of the people in the group also don't agree that it is a great film, like Eyes Wide Shut, but also other people do agree. It's because of the reputation of Eyes Wide Shut. No one is doing anything about it. And I believe, was it last year? I believe somebody could, but it was like when they did the short and they said that they had a restored, and they didn't really, but they had the short film that went to Venice. They need to. They really have to, because all of Kubrick's films have been almost, not all of them, but most of them. This was his favorite. It should be really restored. But I also don't think it's a good idea to restore it before they see the doc, because things may change.
I was curious, given the fact that you decided to go public, as it were, about your situation with the Cannes Film Festival, and what you intimated earlier, that even though the industry is open to looking about just about any subject but itself, do you anticipate that there might be some issues that come up because of those two factors, where somebody might rescind a release, or fair use is held up, or anything like that could be consequence of this?
Sure, yeah, anything is possible. But I think here comes the craziness. They know I'm too nuts that I would literally hit. You'll see it on YouTube in the morning, because I'm crazy. What I mean by that is like, that's absurd to do something like that. That doesn't mean they're not going to try, but it's like, again, it's like, this is Kubrick. So it's like, in a sense of like, you just can't. It's like if you're going to censor things about Stanley Kubrick. They might as well just not have an industry. That's stupid. So no, yeah, of course, whatever, bring it on. You know, movie's not with me. Don't try to come and kill me. It's with somebody else now. They can always upload it and it's out there. But yeah, no. I don't. I think okay. You just raised a good point, which is this movie is good for Stanley Kubrick. This movie ruined it really tarnished in a way his filmography. 2, it's really good for Tom to have done a movie with Kubrick that is great. It's good for Nicole. It's good for the estate. It's good for cinema. So I don't understand why you're standing in the way. Just let it be. This is an exploration about the mind of someone who's a brilliant filmmaker. That's all there is to it. You know, but move ego aside and, you know, this celebrity or that, or I was married then, but I'm not married now, etc. Just like let all that go and just embrace the fact this is about art. This is about cinema. This is about, freedom of expression. You're expressing yourself. And obviously Stanley Kubrick was expressing himself, and he died making that film, and I think that deserved to be understood.
Can you speak to the idea that the original cut that Stanley showed to Warner Brothers and Tom and Nicole, is that still intact? And is there any difference that you can address to the print that you first saw? Can you speak to any of that kind of comparison?
Yeah. Well, again, I'm going to stay with the past present, which is what we saw was Stanley's cut. What we saw was his final cut. That's what we saw, and that's what everyone said. And then the documentary picks up from there.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be clever. I just don't want to. I can't. But I can promise you that it's amazing. That the man is, I don't even know how to say that. I'm not trying to create a conspiracy here. I'm just reminding you that that's what we were told. And the documentary picks up from there and follows it for 20 years.
Well, I understand what you're saying in a sense. I thank you for clearing that up. And I'm looking forward to, I think that Eyes Wide Shut, in a sense, is Stanley's Sistine Chapel. It's an incredible statement. And thank you.
I love that you used that analogy, because I felt to that with the orgy for the US release when they put the digital masks. I understand a lot of people, including Tom, said, well, it didn't really affect anything. But I want you to imagine going to the Sistine Chapel and buying a bucket of paint, black paint, and a brush, and just going there and starting to brush over anybody that is like nude or any, and just pull back, look at that.
Yes, I agree. We're on the same page with that. Thank you.
It's like literally a crime. It's an artistic crime, yeah.
As many of you know, structure was a big thing for Kubrick, and whatever you think of it, in Frederick Raphael's book, they talk a lot about structure, about Pulp Fiction, the structure of that film, and other contemporary films at the time when they were working together. And as you said, you compare the structure to his other films in your documentary. And my perception of Eyes Wide Shut is that it's a film where the subtext has sort of jumped into the foreground. That's my impression of the film. So the structure is definitely different in that film from his other films. Would you agree to that? First of all, that the structure is different for that film?
Yes, I 100% agree with you. And that was his aim. He said, I want to change the form. And that's what he was going for. And I think he wanted to change the equation of how to tell stories. He wanted to change the approach. Whether people agree that it worked or not, that remains to be seen. And I think that's that's why the doc is again important. But yeah, I agree with you. He really wanted to change things around.
But my question is, do you think that he managed to do it? Do you think that was he really managed to do it, even in the present form that the film is today?
You're very smart. Thank you. I can't answer
that. Okay, it's good.
I said Tony. You're smart, but I know. No, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, Tony.
You bet, man. Thanks, Eric.
Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm getting the impression that the film is going to be a mix of different focuses. You're going to have some of it is going to be about analysis of what made the final cut. Some will be about the cultural impact, a little bit about Stanley's career, maybe some interesting tidbits about the making of. So am I on the right track? It's kind of a mix of different focuses. If so, like what's kind of the ratio mix? And is there anything else that I didn't mention?
I don't think there's a ratio. I think it just has everything. I think it's just more of a we don't interview people about like what do you think of Stanley Kubrick? Well, no, it's constantly, I think, right, Casper, it's always chasing why he's doing this, why he's doing that, and then finding, but not just saying that we think that's what he was doing, but actually proving he was doing that. Finding the shots, finding the documents. So it's always, there's a lot of layers of, but again, he's been thinking about that movie for look how many years?
Okay, quick question. How long is the documentary? Minutes?
It's almost 2 hours. It's almost 2 hours. We really pushed it. But it's like, it's like you really have to keep, you have to stay really alert and focused because it's soaking there, because there's just so much material. It's from the beginning of Stanley Kubrick's career, like even photographer to everything, just like massively to all the way. But don't forget also, it covers after he died. That's a big chunk. So when you put the two together, I think that's why it was also like too much to put together. Casper always nods like I could see the face, like yeah.
Yeah, I think the most the beautiful thing for me is I worked on a lot of different projects and movies and series, but I never had with a movie what I had with this movie, and that is that you can stop anywhere in the movie. Like we can go to the timeline, just press random a point, and you get sucked in immediately.
Yeah. We always said that, yeah. Immediately, you just can't stop.
You can't stop. It doesn't matter where you start the movie. So, and that's not because I worked on this movie. I mean, I did, as I said, a lot of other projects, but this was something different. So, I'm really looking forward to it.
We fought a lot. We drove each other crazy, right? We still pulled it off. I mean, but that's just what you have to do, because sometimes it's like, yeah, I need the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth. And it's like, cut to 3 years later, you're still chopping up the beginning because I think it's because of the subject matter, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not difficult.
Well, you have to pursue. Yeah. You can't be easy with something like this.
Yeah.
There's no easy way. You have to get to the bottom, I think. So, yeah. We did that.
I was worried at one point during the process of like, if I can't, because Casper was on, let's say, and everybody that we worked with was really dedicated. And there are some people that I haven't even mentioned that without that movie wouldn't even exist. But my concern was always Casper, because we were in the room together every day. And I was worried that if he's not sucked in at one point, I was really worried about that because he was really on, but also you kind of get worried about the fact that it was going to come up and go, Tony, I'm not sure if we're going there, and I think that was the victory, because he just stayed the course and we just kept going. And with the amazing people that we were working with, remember now, we, there was one person in the UK and it's like we were like constantly like hovering over this, huh? And some people came and some people left, some people continued. I also edited in Belgium for a long time with a production company, and then that fell through, and then I had to pack and leave. I also forgot to mention that I had half the movie composed, and then my composer died. And so we had to delete everything. And I believe we think he was killed, possibly. So that was also another disaster. I mean, the list is endless. And then the third was COVID, of course, came. And we were editing during COVID. And then we ran out of money. And so then it was time to go back. And then when Ken didn't want to do it last year, we had to go find more money and start all over again. And it just like kept going, you know. Then sadly, also at one point, my mother was attacked, and also that had to stop, and everything got blocked, and then went back again. So all that stuff was just more of like this movie. I really felt when this happened with Ken, I really felt like this, like, and Stanley died from that movie. I felt like this movie maybe is cursed because this is way like it's just endless, you know. But I think it was just needed to do this. I just needed to just open it up, release it, and just let it out there. I think that's what's going to break the craziness, you know. But what matters at the end is that what someone said to me once is like, yes, those are our delays, but what matters is the final result. And I think the final result is just like beautiful. And what Ken did allowed me to actually go in this direction with that, because if we would have went to Cannes, we would have had a nice screening and stupid cocktails, and then we were like that. But I think really something pushed us into more of the Kubrick approach of like, go straight to the audience, start have a conversation with the audience, and just go out altogether, because that's just how it should be done, I believe, you know, raw.
You mentioned earlier that you're crazy. Thank you for being crazy. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Two quick questions. Number one, would you agree, given what you just told us, that life is about adjustments? And secondly, I've only seen Eyes Wide Shut about 6 or 7 times. When I watch it again later today, what new lens should I be looking at it through?
If I may say, and I'm sure all the people that worked on the doc, don't. Watch the doc first. Don't. Watch the doc first. That's all I can say. Right? Casper, Elizabeth? Yeah. Don't.
Yes.
Well, if that
is the dilemma right now, because next year is the 25th anniversary. And I'm trying to beat the clock with this, because it's a very, very, very important film. But you have to see what happened. The movie really changed a lot since the beginning. I mean, what we started on and what we ended up with, it just kept completely changing, because the more we dived in, the more we started to talk to people, the shift really changed. It just kept changing, but I have to say, it really kept blowing my mind because, and I think that's the beauty, and that's why we had to stick with it, because if it didn't have legs, you know, it's like it had the elements, and so you just couldn't walk away from it, no matter what. You just couldn't, you know. It's you push all the way to the edge. Stanley owned books that were about magic and about Black Circle, and I was shocked when I saw them. But again, because that's Kubrick, he will reach. Like, I mean, in the documentary, we also have a top Nobel Prize neurologist, and we also have, you know, because that's just Stanley. And Casper is nodding. So it's like he could go all the way to the edge of really the craziest stuff that he ever thought of. And you go to the most amazing, really heavy scientific theories and ways of how the brain works. And that was really exciting for us. But it was also very difficult to bring out in the film to like construct. But yeah, no. And when I saw all his books with his stickies, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't, because it was just like this stuff was crazy, And Elizabeth saw them, And the story goes that he, like, I think, and may I say, is like Leon had the books, and I think Stanley threw them in the trash, and then Leon asked if he can have them, and I was just like, wow, he really thinks about everything, and that tells you that you're not dealing with a normal filmmaker. You're not, but sadly, it was presented as a normal film. It wasn't.
That's a fanboy question. Have your all your extensive discovery of Mr. Kubrick, what would be one or two of your favorite things that you discovered about him? Whether it's scenes in a movie or the way he worked or something about the process, what could you share that you found most fascinating or fulfilling or inspiring?
That he exceeded my expectations. It's like I thought he was brilliant, and then I discovered he was super brilliant. That really blew my mind. Like really super brilliant. It's because it's a bit much. I mean, but when you go through this whole thing, or when you see the doc, and Casper sometimes used to fall off the chair because of like just certain things that we would discuss, and you would see something, because it would be like, no, but that's just it's just really mind blowing. His mind was, the stories are true of just how he was able to. So it was like there was a computer in there, and it's like, but it's a fascinating software inside. It's very like amazing.
One in a billion.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's what can I say? I think that it's really wrong for me to even say that stuff to to a diehard Kubrick fans, because you guys know that.
I was wondering also, is there any chance this could be a regular thing, like every few months?
If you don't get bored, if you don't get bored, sure.
No, it's
there's a lot to say about Stan, and there's a lot of. I mean, Casper would even tell you, we had, I think our first cut probably was like 10 hours, and then there's just so much, So there'll always be more stuff that is just so fascinating and interesting, and just at the end, it was so sad. It was horrible to lose some of that stuff, because it was just. And so much work went into that stuff, but it was whatever, I mean, you have to chop it up, and because otherwise you can't have a 3-hour movie. But yes, we shall. I really enjoyed it, and it's almost feels like home. It's kind of like, I don't know. Maybe it has the Kubrick spirit to it,
Great to see you again. Just a quick question, and
sure.
I suspect I know the answer. Am I going to have to rewrite that book?
Yes.
Oh, damn. How much?
All of it.
Oh.
I'll tell you why, and this is with all respect. With all respect, I say that because I only say it because of Stanley, because of Kubrick. I'm only saying it, not because of you or anything, and I'll tell you why. Your dates and everything is absolute flawless. It's all that stuff. But I was just like you in the beginning. I was getting all the wrong information. And I don't mean you got the wrong information. This is really a good question. That's a very smart question, by the way. I also was wrong in the beginning. And I didn't really think that like, as I said earlier, that the level of his mind was that vast. And I also didn't know I didn't, but you always assume that it's Stanley Kubrick, and he is the most powerful director of all time. And the discovery was he wasn't. When it comes to the industry, he wasn't. And I think we were just hearing secondary stories from people. Now, he's the best filmmaker in the whole world, but he's not the most powerful. And I think he is just, people just didn't get him at the end. Right, Elizabeth? Is that fair to say?
The beauty of this whole thing is that it shows the truth of what it is to be someone who is so, Kubrick, to be so tapped in to creativity and so ahead of his time and so brilliant, and what that really means to work in a world and an industry that may not value that as much as it should. So I'm just saying that he has prevailed over time and become the icon.
And Eyes Wide Shut is the glitch. It's the one glitch that is going to really make him like shoot to the moon, because when this is your finale and you say this is my best film, it's either you're nuts, which he wasn't, but some people said he was, but he was really misjudged at the end. And the good thing for you, Nathan, is that you're just going to make the money twice. So you made a lot of money in the first cut. Now do the second one.
The perfect panel is Nathan and Tony discussing.
But no, we can argue from, because we also differ. Of course, it's standard. But that's the point. For a while, I was like, you know what, Nathan is wrong, or Philippe was wrong, or that was wrong. And you realize that they're all right. We're all right, because he made his movies that way. He played that. He was very clever. It's like, that's the brilliance of Kubrick that I discovered, that it could be left and it could be right and it could be in the middle and it could be something that you haven't even seen. And it's that middle ground that is just such a beautiful place that he knew where to go, But yeah, it's the saddest thing is that he was really mistreated badly at the end, or misjudged and doubted. And I stop right there. I will say it. Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, this has been far beyond what I could have imagined, what's been said here.
Glad.
I think we should, anytime you want to reconvene us, Tony, we're at your disposal.
Just get out there. I'm out there, and let's just get it out there. To be honest, and to be sincere about this whole thing, it is really, I am not trying to push a movie to come out. It's very, 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 very important documentary. And I've never worked on anything like that. And you saw the length of time that this happened. And I was blown away with the fact that Cannes didn't do it. I was shocked, but that we move on from that, But it has to come out, because I think it's very crucial, But then if what happened, it really allowed me to kind of connect with everybody and to really see the movie also in a different way. Now, like the participating with the audience. And I think that's probably Kubrick's spirit is playing that game on all of us. But yeah.
And Mark, thanks for putting this all together for us, our fearless leader, and we really appreciate it. Thanks so much, Mark. And thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Mark and Steve and Rick and Casper and and Nathan and Filippo for helping everybody. Just really awesome. Thank you. And I wish I didn't forget anybody. And Mark, of course, was great. Thank you for doing that, Mark.
Oh, my honor. Thank you. So, hope to see you again soon. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Tony.
Bye, Nathan. Bye.
Bye, Tony.
Bye, Casper.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your devotion to this. Thank you.
Thank you for hanging in there too. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Bye.